Here they come, Zhou said as he looked at the crimson flying chariot. Meanwhile, little Yuaner's free and easy look disappeared when she saw the chariot, and she said timidly, "That's senior sister's flying chariot." After that, she walked to Zhou's side and stood by his elbow, putting her hand around his arm. "Don't be afraid." Zhou waved his hand. Oh! Little Yuaner found on second thought that he was right. Why should I be afraid when Master is here? She had brought her father back. It was a pity that he was in a coma and could not witness the spectacle. As for Pan Zhong, he looked more surprised and confused, and no one knew what he was thinking about. On the side, Murong Hai felt like he was dreaming. Hallucinations! This must be all hallucination, he thought while pinching himself hard on the cheek. There were numerous cultivators in the world, and one who had opened all 8 meridians of the Brahma Sea realm was already an expert. When a cultivator stepped into this realm, he could float in the air, and when he opened all 8 meridians, he could fly in the sky. Therefore, how could he not be shocked when he saw so many experts fly in the sky? Are Brahma Sea experts so worthless? In addition, those who could control flying swords were cultivators who had opened at least 8 meridians, and many of them were actually divine court experts. Moreover, there was a flying chariot here as well. A flying chariot was a symbol of status, and only the leader of a power could usually own one. As for mounts, especially legendary mounts, it took strength, luck, reserves, and timing to catch one, which made an existence even more prestigious than a flying chariot. When the top 10 experts besieged Golden Court Mountain with tens of thousands of cultivators, only the top 10 experts owned flying chariots. Who was the expert in the Crimson Flying Chariot? A brief moment later, the group of experts arrived on the scene and spread out into a semicircle, looking ready to attack. Meanwhile, the chariot stopped and hovered behind them. Zhou, Murong Hai, Little Yuaner, and Pan Zhong all looked at it. Right then, a seductive voice rang out of it. "Little Junior, sister, is getting more and more beautiful." The familiar voice and tone made Little Yuaner purse her lips and run back behind Zhou again. "Little Junior, sister?" Pan Zhong frowned. Who can frighten this unruly little girl with a formidable cultivation base? However, in the next moment, he seemed to have recognized the owner of the Crimson Flying Chariot. Realizing what was happening, he swallowed hard, and his fingers began to shiver. "Humph, traitor, I'm not your little junior sister," Little Yuaner said angrily. Hearing that, a peal of laughter echoed out of the chariot. "Little junior sister, you are still as innocent and lovely as ever." At that moment, a divine court cultivator floating in midair on a flying sword cupped his fist toward the chariot and said, "Palace Master Yi, you told us that the old villain had relied on a secret drug to survive the last attack, and you secretly informed us with letters that he will be here. What I see now is only a little villain. What's the meaning of this?" "Only a little villain?" Zhou could not help but wonder. "I'm only about 10 years younger. Yes, my hair have grown darker and my skin is tighter, but my facial features remain the same. Am I that hard to recognize?" The cultivator in the chariot laughed and said, "Open your eyes and have a good look." Oh! The chariot moved up the air and upended. The cultivators could not help but look at it, holding their breaths. A lady in white clothes slowly fell from the sky, like a fairy descending from heaven. Her aura was as calm as still water, but also contained a fierce killing intent. Even though there was some distance between them, Zhou still recognized her. Yi Tianxin, nascent divinity tribulation realm, 45% hostility. She was a 6th disciple, currently the master of the derived moon palace, who had her name heard by many. It was said that the derived moon palace only had female cultivators, and every one of them was gifted. However, they all hated heartless, unfaithful men. No one knew the reason, and Zhou could not find the answer in his memory either. He glanced around and did not find any female cultivators. It was plain that she did not use her own people but outsiders, which was a clever idea. At that moment, the other cultivators landed as well, but they kept a distance from Yi Tianxin, for she was a fearsome jade-faced Shura. Zhou clasped his hand behind his back and rested his eyes on Yi Tianxin. Her temperament An appearance reminded him of a poem. The lotus grows in mud, yet is never contaminated by it, and she floats on waving water, yet never dances with it. Zhou was not in a hurry to do anything, because he felt that things were not so simple. They would not set a trap just to catch him. His villainous disciples were not so stupid. His eldest, second, fifth, seventh, and eighth disciples had not shown up when he activated a peak form experience card. He only had half an hour. He must try his best to take down the group of villainous disciples in his peak form. All eyes were focused on Yi Qianxin. She walked forward gracefully, and the cultivators parted to let her through. After taking 10 steps, she stopped and smiled, rested her eyes on the only old man at the scene. "Master, you've fallen into a trap." A hush fell over the crowd. The eyes, which were filled with either surprise, shock, doubt, or disbelief, shifted over to Zhou at the same time. The old man who looked in his 60s or 70s. This old man is a legendary and famous evil patriarch who once slaughtered 80,000 cultivators of Rong Bay. Is there a mistake? No one could believe it, because he looked different from the portrait. However, Yi Qianxin had personally pointed him out. She was the old villain's sixth disciple, and she could not be wrong. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The cultivators unsheathed their swords, as if they were facing a formidable enemy, and fixed their eyes on Zhou. The atmosphere was a little bit bizarre and tense. Both sides stood eyeball to eyeball, but no one dared to strike first. It was also unusually quiet, so much so that everyone seemed to be able to hear each other's heartbeats. At that moment, Manhwa Manhua looked at the old man with a kind face and laughed. "He is a notorious villainous patriarch? Ha! You'd better kill me. You are all liars. Liars." With his hands clasped behind his back, Zhou looked at Yi Qianxin and said calmly, "Since you have addressed me as master, I'll give you another chance. Come back to Golden Court Mountain. You will still be one of my 9 disciples." His reply shocked all the cultivators present. It was tantamount to admitting that he was the villainous patriarch. Yi Qianxin smiled and said, "Master, it is out of respect that I called you master. As for going back to Golden Court Mountain, you have to ask them first." The surrounding cultivators all gazed furiously at Zhou. "Old villain, you are lucky to have won the last battle, but you won't be so lucky this time. A secret drug is, after all, a secret drug. Every secret drug that can increase one's cultivation base within a short time has side effects. Don't worry, everybody. No wonder this old villain could use his energy in such a wanton way the last time. Old villain, now is the time for you to die. Surrender yourself." The cultivators were aflame with indignation as they growled and snarled at Zhou. However, he turned a deaf ear to them and just looked at the smiling Yi Qianxin as he asked, "How did you know for sure that I would be here?" Yi Qianxin clapped her hands, and someone handed her a portrait in response. It's hard to believe that the villainous patriarch who once held sway in the world would disguise himself. Zhou said nothing in response, so Yi Qianxin went on. "Master, would you believe me if I told you that I guessed it?" Zhou lifted a hand and stroked his beard. He had gotten used to the motion, and his mentality seemed to have grown old with it as well. He looked to his left and right, but he still did not see Zhao Yu and the others. Consequently, he could not help shaking his head. It was not cost-effective to use a peak form experience card to catch only 1 disciple. However, he had no other choice now. "Yi Qianxin," Zhou's voice was calm and sounded like a teacher calling his student. "I had taught you the blue waves technique and given you the amorous hoop in the hope that you could protect yourself in this dangerous cultivation world, not to make you desert the sect and betray me." Yi Qianxin laughed, her voice so thrilling that it made the hairs of those who heard it stand on their ends. However, many cultivators were pleased to know that the old villain had produced such a treacherous disciple. "Old man, do you think you can still treat me like you used to?" Yi Qianxin paused as she spread her arms and then continued. "You are old and no longer the same Ji Tiandao who could throw the world into chaos. This place is the graveyard I've personally designed for you." The air in the surrounding woods began to stir. Cultivators with profound cultivation bases seemed to notice it, and they quickly sent out their divine senses to probe the changes. This place was not simple. By now, little Yuan could not listen any longer. How dare you, schoolmaster? You will be struck by lightning. It was a pity that her reproach was not strong enough. Zhou waved his hand to signal little Yuan not to interrupt, and then he said, "Who leaked my whereabouts to you? Was it old seventh, old fifth, or that good-for-nothing old eighth?" Yi Qianxin said, "I don't need them to tell me." She paused for a brief moment, and then went on, "I don't mind telling you the truth. The kidnapping of the CI family was my plan, and the goal was to lure little junior sister and you out of Golden Court Mountain." Pan Zhong had a moment of enlightenment, and he asked with surprise, "You are the one who gave me the task?" "Yes." "What if this old villain doesn't show up?" Pan Zhong asked. He did not understand why she was so sure that the old villain would be here. Yi Qianxin smiled, but her voice was cold as she said, "You have too many questions. You just need to do what you were told, and you will be paid what was promised." Pan Zhong shut his mouth, for he felt a murderous aura. On the other side, Zhou's expression remained unchanged as he said, "Well, I've killed many people in the past, and I don't mind killing a few more." Hearing him, all the cultivators opposite him took a step back and grew nervous. "Why are you still pretending, old thing?" Yi Qianxin stared at Zhou. "The secret drug of Primal Fiend. A dose of this drug can boost a cultivator's energy for a short time, but the side effect is that the cultivation base will reduce to half for 10 days, and it cannot be consumed again." Zhou remembered the secret drug when she mentioned its name. It was invented by the Medicine King, but boycotted by the orthodox sects in the world because of its overly brutal and evil effects. Over time, it disappeared. He did not expect that they would associate him with it. "I would not believe if others claimed to have the Primal Fiend drug, but I'm certain that this old villain has it," shouted one of the cultivators. Yi Qianxin laughed again and said in a dark tone, "I have another bad news to tell you. I've placed down an array here, which has greatly weakened energy. Even if you have the secret drug and take it in your desperation, it will be in vain." "Well, that's all I want to say. Master, this is the last time I call you master. When you're dead, I'll order someone to properly bury you and handle Golden Court Mountain." "Oh, right. The experts of the righteous sect should have arrived at Golden Court Mountain. Third senior brother is wounded, so I think fourth senior brother must have surrendered by now." When she had finished, Yi Qianxin's face relaxed, and she stepped back. It seemed that she did not plan to attack herself. Her deep fear for Ji Tiandao made her reluctant to be the first to strike, and she did not think that the secret drug was the old thing's only trump card. It was not a bad idea to let others be cannon fodder sometimes, and it was also the reason why she did not bring her people here. An array? Liu Yuan glanced around. She sensed the energy fluctuation in the surroundings, which worried her. "What should we do, master?" A row of cultivators was slowly approaching them. "There's no need to be afraid." Zhou's voice still sounded confident. Yi Qianxin grew suspicious. She found that one thing Zhao Yu told her was right. The old man's style of handling. Things seemed to be different from the past. He did not get angry, fly into a rage, or curse. "Master!" Suddenly, Wang Fuguei ran out of the woods behind them with a sad face while panting. "Fuguei, what are you doing here?" Little Yuan asked suspiciously. "Your mother, she is worried about your safety." When Wang Fuguei saw his master, who was in a coma, he wailed again, "Master, what happened to you?" Then he kowtowed to Zhou and said, "Oh, mister, please save my master, please." Swoosh! Suddenly, Wang Fuguei leaped toward Zhou like an arrow with a glinting dagger in his hand. He was a divine court expert. It all happened so quickly and suddenly that even the cultivators who were about to attack Zhou did not expect it. They all stared at the scene with wide eyes. "Master," little Yuan turned pale with fright. It was way too close, and Zhou had little chance of dodging the attack. Even a nascent divinity tribulation expert could not resist the attack without being hurt when unprepared. It worked. Yi Qianxin's eyes lit up, and a look of anticipation crept up her face. Bam! The dagger stabbed Zhou in the back, and everything seemed to have paused in this moment. Oh! Surprisingly, the dagger could not move further even for just a little bit. What's going on? Thoughts flashed through Wang Fugue's mind. The dagger was a poisoned Earth-grade treasure, and he had thrust it with all his strength as a divine court expert. Why can't I feel it stab into his body? As an excellent assassin, he had mastered all the details of the craft, just like an excellent archer could tell the arrow could hit the target or not the moment it was released. He did not need to examine it. He slowly looked up. The dagger was blocked by an invisible force? Lu Zhou's voice rang out at this moment. Why do I need to take a drug to kill you all? Boom! An energy blast suddenly spread out in all directions like an explosion. The powerful energy formed rings of light in an instant and knocked Wang Fuji flying away. At that moment, energy waves that looked like ripples kept spreading out of Lu Zhou's body. Not good. The old villain did this on purpose. Ah! It is not the old villain who has fallen into a trap, but us. Yi Qianxin, you are such a scheming woman. Bam! 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 All Brahma seed cultivators fell to ground, losing their ability to fight back. Meanwhile, Yi Qianxin stared at the scene in disbelief, and her heart trembled violently. He did this on purpose? Why is the array ineffective against him? Why can he still take the secret drug? What went wrong? Lu Zhou clasped his hands behind his back and took a deep breath. It will be good if I can always keep this form. It feels great to go back to the peak again. His aura, cultivation base, and energy had all gone back to the peak levels, as if his young body had returned or he had awakened after hundreds of years of sleep. Yi Qianxin, do you think I know you have made a divine court assassin disguise as a steward in the CI family? Yi Qianxin's eyes were filled with shock as she kept backing away.